Hi there, it's Denise Eckert. I love sharing different ideas and techniques to help you create a better lifestyle. And today we're going to talk about changing our relationship with alcohol. And with that, I've got Hamza Najam, and he's a certified breathwork teacher, nationally certified recovery coach, and he holds a certification in mindfulness-based stress reduction. Well, welcome, Hamza.
Thank you so much for having me, Denise. I'm really thrilled to be here.
Now, what inspired you to do this type of work?
Well, I had a very long battle with alcohol myself. I'm 37 years old now, and I started drinking early when I was 16, 17. Throughout my 20s and early 30s, it just progressively got worse and worse and worse and worse to the point where I didn't even know who I was without alcohol. After trying AA, therapy, smart recovery, I read pretty much every book there is to read. And I would find some success, like a week or maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month here or there, but I would always just, the cycle would keep repeating itself. And I would tell the whole world, or I would blame the whole world that, oh, if I didn't go out or if so and so didn't call me and said, hey, let's go to the bar, then I would have been fine. But eventually I learned to shift my focus inward. That's when things started to change, when I embraced mindfulness, meditation. I was new to it all completely, and it just changed my life. It was easy to stop. It was easy to start focusing on myself and rebuilding my life, and mindfulness is what got me through it all.
Now, do you drink in moderation or just not at all now?
I don't drink at all. It's much easier that way, just simply because I tried moderation for years and years. I feel like that's where everybody goes the first time when they realize that they're doing it a bit too much and need to cut back. And it's only then when you realize how severe the problem might actually be. And to me, moderation is just a very inefficient process. It requires a lot of thought, a lot of energy, a lot of holding yourself back, and all of those things. And it's just simpler without it, to be honest. I don't miss it at all. It doesn't do anything for me at all. And I found alternative ways to relax and to unwind and to deal with my emotions and my stress. I have way more stress than I did before, but I'm managing it in a significantly better way, one that doesn't come with a hangover or doesn't cost me any money.
Now, you talk about some of the reasons that we do tend to drink, the self-medication thing, and dealing with emotions and dealing with stress. Now, working with the people that you work with, are there any other reasons that people tend to drink too much?
Oh, I mean, there's a whole list of those. Habit tends to be the biggest one. Stress-induced drinking, coping mechanisms, painful emotions. Let's say I work with a lot of people who have gone through a divorce or they lost a spouse to cancer or something along those lines. I've even worked with people who lost a child. And of course, then there's a lot of people who consider themselves moderate drinkers or don't consider themselves alcoholic, but they do drink every day. They have a pattern, they have a repeatable pattern every day. That also is, in fact, one of the biggest problems when you're trying to stop because your mind is saying, okay, I'm done. Great, let's do this. But then your body and your nervous system have other ideas. And that's where the main challenge comes in. Along with this, what I see mostly is painful emotions, stress, habit, escapism, unwinding, relaxing, and then, of course, celebration, society. Every time we go out, we have to do it with a glass in our hand, otherwise, it's not the same, right? So there's a lot of conditioning around what it's supposed to be like, what a celebration is supposed to be like, what a wedding is supposed to be like, what a birthday is supposed to be like. It's not true. Who made these rules?
Exactly. Now, for someone that's listening, goes, yeah, maybe I've got a bit of a problem. What are the sort of the signs that you should take a look at your relationship with alcohol?
Great question. I get this question quite often. Well, the first thing is if you have to ask yourself, is there a problem? 99% chance there is one. The other signs are your brain jumping straight to, I need a drink. As soon as something stressful happens, kids come home, throw their bags. This happens in my house every day. Shoes get thrown, bags get thrown. Okay, that's triggering, right? If you are jumping straight to I need a drink, if you are drinking almost every single night, if your brain is fixated, let's say it's 2 o'clock, you're in your office, and all you can think about is that 9 o'clock hour when the kids are off to bed, and then you can pour your drink, and those are all classic signs. And the biggest sign of all is when you tell yourself that I can quit, but I just don't want to. I want you to try. Go 1 week without a drink. See what comes up for you, because it's only then when we start to realize how we're actually wired and how challenging it can be to change that built-in behavior.
Now, what is the relationship with the frequency and the amount?
Yeah, it varies person to person. I mean, alcohol is essentially I've met people who are 300 pounds, they can drink an entire bottle and still be okay. And then there's people who will have a couple of drinks and feel really tipsy. So I feel like it varies by body weight as well as your tolerance. But even if you are someone who is drinking 2 to 3 glasses of wine a night, that's a lot. Even if you are someone who doesn't drink throughout the week, but then on weekends you let loose and you tell yourself that, hey, I was good throughout the week, so it's the weekend and now I can have as many as I like. That's also challenging. So, anyway, if you are using, this is what it comes down to. If you're using it as a way to regulate and cope with your life, that means that you're using it in a specific way. And that is an unhealthy way because that is the way that creates more problems. And you find yourself in a point in life where you're like, how did I even get here? And how do I get myself out of this? Yeah, the amounts vary, but the frequency is if it's daily, every other day, or definitely every weekend, then it's something to consider changing.
Okay, now for someone that's listening to this and they've got the question, do I have a problem? What is the first step that they can take to making a difference in their lives?
So the very first step that everybody that joins my program and the way we start is working on the mind. What we have to understand is that the desire to drink is often linked to how we are feeling inside and the desire to change that feeling. And when we arrive at a point in life where it's just the repetition, where it's basically repeating itself over and over and over, the challenge is not alcohol itself, but how your nervous system is wired, right? Every single experience that we have, it lives in the gray matter of our brain. So the challenge for someone who is just getting into this is to recognize, when does it start for you? Where are you? What are you doing? What is the context? What is the environment? So as my personal example, I'd be in my office by 2 o'clock already. I'm like, all right, today on my way back, I'm getting a bottle. Same thing I did yesterday, same thing I did the day before. And there's nothing that's changing my mind. So when I dug into this as to why do I start thinking about drinking at around 2 or 3 o'clock every day, the answer that I got after doing some significant digging is that because I'm bored of my job. Can't wait to get home. And what I love doing when I get home is having a drink. And why that is, that's a whole other can of worms as to why that was happening. But you want to first identify all of your trigger points. Where does the thought enter your mind? And then you will realize that there are probably 10, maybe 15 different things throughout your day when you're at work, when you come home. The thing about coming home, especially as a parent, is that that's your second shift about to start, right? And you know it. And you know that you are spent already, you gave it your all at work, but it doesn't end for you here. There's another 4 hours of cooking and cleaning and reading and stories and hanging out and all of that. These are all triggers. And in our brain, there is a established pattern. Now, again, I'm talking to the people who are now wondering, hey, maybe I should do something about this and where do I start, right? If you just white knuckle it, which is I'll just not drink, then you will feel all the reasons why it's okay to have a drink now and start tomorrow and why you don't really need to quit. Instead, you just need to hold back and blah, blah, blah. Those are all the cues where you need to dig and figure out where does it really start. So I have something called the 7 why exercise. I'll share this with everybody because this is where you would start. This is where everybody starts. This is where I started as well. We have 7 layers of consciousness. Our subconscious is 7 layers beneath the awareness level, which is at the very top, and then we're going 7 layers below. So if the question is, I'll give you my personal example. Come home, as soon as I enter my door, every part of me is like, yeah, okay. Now I walk straight to the fridge without even thinking, drop my bag, walk straight to the fridge, open my can, sit down, turn on the TV and be like, all right, now what are we doing? Okay. When I started digging, so why? First, why? Why do I always do this? Well, the first thing that comes to mind is, well, what else am I going to do? Okay. Why is that? Well, when I get home, I live by myself, I get bored. And when I get bored, I want to have a drink. Okay. Most people would leave it here. Yeah, I'm bored, so I'm having a drink. But no, we have to dig deeper. Third, why? Well, what is it about the boredom that makes you want to drink? Well, when I have nothing to do, all these thoughts start coming up in my mind when I'm sitting by myself, and all these things I don't want to feel. So instead of that, I'd rather just drink and distract myself. Okay. Fourth, why? Why is that? Because the thoughts that come up are exclusively around all the things I've ruined in my life, which are all because of drinking, all the challenges that I face, how I'm barely surviving, and how I've ruined my life, and how much I will need to do to fix it. And I don't want to think about that. And that's why I would rather have a drink. Okay, now, fifth why. Why is that? Why are these thoughts so bad? What is it about? Because it reminds me of the act of all the work that I need to do, and it's daunting, it's overwhelming. I can't even begin to imagine how I would start. I don't know where to start, so I'd rather just drink instead because it makes me feel extremely bad about what I've done to my life. So now I'm holding on to all these regrets that I'm not dealing with. And then the sixth why is, well, why is that? Because it makes me feel like I'm a failure. It makes me feel like I'm not good enough. It makes me feel like I've already destroyed everything. And the seventh why, well, why is that? Why does that make you want to drink? Because I would rather forget about all of this than have to deal with it. And that is now one root cause that you have uncovered. My root cause was I was holding on to so much regret that I couldn't even start to dig in there. So that's not that. Now it tells me that this is where I need to focus. So it's not about alcohol anymore. It's about dealing with what's inside me that wants to come out, that is pulling all the strings from my subconscious. And just like this, every single scenario, you're driving home, you suddenly feel like drinking. Okay, do the exercise in your mind. Why? 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 And just like this, and I have worksheets for this, you'll have a list of all of your root causes, what really is pulling the strings. Because now the work that you're doing has nothing to do with alcohol and has everything to do with your healing. And that is the big difference between what I do versus what you might have been trying on your own at home, which is trying to stop drinking versus actually healing the root causes that drive the drinking behavior for you. Sorry, long-winded answer, but I hope that was easily digestible by our audience.
Well, that's very powerful because, yeah, there is a reason why you are excessively drinking. And I love how you're just stacking the questions, getting right down to the nitty-gritty, really.
Yeah, because that's where all the answers are for all of us.
Now, what kind of practices do you recommend for people? In all your social media, you talk a lot about breath work. Now, how does breath work help us in this process or in this journey?
Great question. I'm so glad you asked. So, breath work is a very broad, like yoga, like fitness, right? It's a very broad term. Breath work is simply the practice of using your breath to change your internal state. Now, that's an overarching theme. What I have done is because I'm an alcohol recovery coach, I know, and because I struggle with this myself, I knew exactly where to target the breath work in terms of releasing trapped energy, in terms of regulating the nervous system, and most importantly, creating feelings of peace, safety, feelings of being okay, that all is good, eliminating anxiety, reducing stress. So we use it acutely targeting. So, you know, this entire list of triggers that you would eventually get from the 7Y exercise. Then we do what's called a pattern interrupt. So what that means is the same loop that you're in, come home, pick up a drink, start drinking, now the whole evening goes off, and then the next morning you're like, oh shit, why did I do this again? That loop. Now that you've understood exactly where it starts, the second step is to interrupt that pattern, stop it dead in its tracks. And the way to do that, sure, there's naltrexone, you can take a pill. Some people will distract themselves. Some people, they join my program and then they just go a million miles an hour. That's also not the solution because you're distracting yourself. So the breath work will, because you have to understand, when you are feeling the urge to drink and you're telling yourself, no, I'm not going to give in, I'm not going to cave, I'm going to stay strong. When that is happening, and that's vital to happen, because if that doesn't happen, then we just lost the plot right there. Because if you feel the urge to drink and you immediately move from that to let's go have a drink, then nothing happened in between. And that's where we need to do the work. So the breath work, to understand this, there's two sides of your nervous system, sympathetic, parasympathetic. You're usually in parasympathetic until you start thinking about drinking. And when you try to stop yourself from it, that's what activates your sympathetic, your fight or flight. You will notice that when you're fighting a craving or an urge to drink, your chest is tight, your breathing is shallow, your body is tense, your neck and your jaw is also tight and it's also tense, and it's because your sympathetic nervous system is turned on. And this is the key thing. You're choosing to drink because you want to stop what's happening inside. You want to relax, you want to feel good, you want to feel at peace. That is the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, the problem is that we all run into is that the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight, it gets turned on like this because all of those nerves are connected to our spine, quick mobilization. It's an electrical panel going up and down our body. And by nature, your fight or flight is imagine prehistoric humans walking around who suddenly there's a lion. Poof. Now you have to run or you get killed, right? So that's why the sympathetic nervous system turns on very quickly. By contrast, the parasympathetic nervous system, because it's linked to organs and not directly plugged into the control panel, which is the spine, takes about 10-ish minutes for the parasympathetic to kick in. So really what we're talking about is a moment of overwhelm where you're struggling with a craving and all you need is 10 minutes for that to pass. If you can hang on for those 10 minutes, then the feeling goes away. And that's what the breath work does for you. Immediately, what I train everybody on is as soon as you recognize your symptoms coming on, that okay, shit, I am feeling the urge to drink and it's coming up and it's coming up strong, and especially if you get caught in the thinking and feeling loop, by using your breath, and I teach a very simple breathing exercise. We can do this here as well. It's called alternate nostril breathing. We use both nostrils alternatively. Yeah, I guess that's self-explanatory. And we do this to soothe both hemispheres of the brain, the left and the right, the emotional and the analytical, both. So here's how it goes. We do 15 rounds, and I'll show you one round. Take your right thumb, block your right nostril. Okay, and this is like right when it's all happening. Immediately block this, take a deep inhale from your left until your belly's full, completely full. Now switch the nostril and exhale, completely exhaling all the way. Now inhale again from the same one, and you switch the nostril, exhale from the other one. So inhale from the right, exhale from the left, inhale from the left, exhale from the right. Do 10 to 15 rounds of this and just do it strong. Suck the air in, do the exhale. What this will do is it will give you that time while working very quickly to completely reset your nervous system and get you in a relaxed state right then and there. But the work doesn't end there. This is just the pattern interrupt. We just interrupted the pattern. Doesn't mean that it won't come back. So we have to do a little bit more from here. This is when you do the 7 mile exercise, right after the breath work, where your brain is calm, because what this does is there's a region of our brain called the amygdala. The amygdala is where stress, worry, tension, all these things come from. That's where they originate in the brain. So if we can just lower the electricity that is going into that region of the brain, then all of that goes away as well. And it's just as simple as recognizing the symptom. And that's the challenge, because in the heat of the moment, like things are hard. I get it. But with consistent repetition, That's where accountability comes in. That's where somebody holding your hand comes in. That's where community comes in. That's where doing it with other people comes in. If you're 40 years old and you see somebody in their 60s killing it with breath work and living the best life of themselves, it makes you wonder, hey, if she can do it, I know I can too. So that is how the breath work helps. That's just one example. We also focus on, because it's a year-long program, so there's phases that we go through. Ultimately, you're learning what's called pranayama. Pranayama is it's a combination of breathwork and meditation together. And we use it intentionally. So we set the intention in the beginning. There's different kinds of meditations you can do. There's different kinds of breathwork you can do. Strong, gentle combination of the two. So we use this as a daily practice to embed yourself in the vision of who you want to be without alcohol. That's a big thing for a lot of people. They can't even envision life without alcohol. So you have to see it. Nobody invented anything without visualizing it first, right? So that's the process. Number one, visualization, anchoring yourself into the vision of who you want to be. And then, of course, blasting through any pent up energy, relaxing your nervous system at the start of your day, right? That's also a key factor. But that's how we use breathwork. We use it in very targeted moments where cravings and challenges and stress and overwhelm and all these things are happening, and it's all tailored to the person because every person is unique. And of course, the vision. And the vision is built by you. You get a worksheet where you write down exactly who you want to be in 3 to 6 months from now, physical, mental, emotional, financial, spiritual, all of it. And then based on that, I record your completely personalized meditation and visualization. All you have to do is hit play and it guides you through the breath work, it guides you through your visualization. And that is how we retrain the mind first and then move on to the body.
Thank you for sharing all that with us. I understand you also have a master class that the audience can tune into just to get an idea of what you're talking about.
Absolutely. It's on my YouTube channel. Just Breathe Sober on YouTube. If you search that up, you'll find me. Not only will you find my masterclass. So the masterclass will basically explain to you, it will answer the big question. Why can't I stop drinking even when I've been trying my best? What is the problem? And that will explain to you how alcohol isn't the issue, but it is the nervous system. From there, I have breathwork example videos just for you to just try and do at home. And I also have an entire playlist of case studies of people, different ages, different challenges, how they overcame them, and what changed. And the common thing is that everybody is at least 4 or 5 months sober or longer. There's one of our members, he's hitting 3 years now coming up. So that's also fantastic. So please consume all of that. It's all there to help you, to get you started so you can start practicing and recognizing and realizing that, wait a minute, I can do this with my breath. So please. And what's also going to be there for those of you who are listening, what I'm working on right now is I'm building a 13-part series for YouTube, completely free, of course. And I'm going to address 13 unique problems that each person who's trying to stop drinking goes through. And those are the reasons why you end up going back to the drink. So I'm going to debunk and give you the exact step-by-step process of how to deal with that specific problem, such as stress, anxiety, husband drinks too much and I want to stop, but he won't listen. That's a problem as well. And several, like all the problems that we listed, they're going to be about 20 minutes each. So that will be available within as soon as I can get to it.
In other words, subscribe to your YouTube channel.
Yes, please. That's what I meant to say.
Now, for someone that just drinks socially or they believe they just drink socially, is there something they can do before they go out? If they're going to go out to a party or a bar, is there anything that they can do for their mindset before they go out?
Absolutely. That depends on what the goal is. Do you want to go and stick to just one or two? Do you want to go and have fun and prove to yourself that you can do it without alcohol? Both things are possible. Just one of them is significantly more, it takes more energy to pull off the moderation part. Because especially if you're someone who likes to go at least 4 or 5 drinks each time, then after your first two, every fiber of your being is going to want the third, fourth, and fifth. So you're going to have to work towards neutralizing that system in your brain. The other one, where you're just not drinking at all, Yeah, that's more of a mental game. Here, there's nothing physical happening because you're not consuming alcohol. So, what you can do in both instances, and this is something that you can do for anything. You have a presentation that you're anxious about, you've got big board meeting that you're worried about, parent-teacher meeting that's coming up, and you have no idea how this is going to go, all of those things. Visualization. Now, this term gets thrown around loosely quite a bit these days, so I just want to clarify what I'm talking about. Humans have this incredible ability, especially the human brain, where the emotion attached to any kind of memory, it's the emotion that creates the feeling within our body that releases the certain chemicals that are associated with the emotion. So, for example, let's say you bought a lottery ticket one time and suddenly you won $50,000. The moment you realize, oh shit, I got 50 grand, that moment, that excitement, that all of that, there's several chemicals that are being released in your body right now. That snapshot, when the emotion is high, that's what gets stored as the memory. And when you go back to the memory, you're reliving the emotion. So what I'm getting at is our brain doesn't know the difference between something that happens in the external world versus something that happens in the internal world, as long as there is a picture and an emotion attached to this thing. Meaning you can trick your brain into believing something's already happened. Now, the proof of this is they did a study, this was done in 1992, where they just took three groups of people. One group extended their finger for 4 hours a day, every day for a week. Second group did nothing. Third group did the same exercise, but in their mind. They visualized themselves extending the finger, but they physically didn't do anything. Okay? At the end of the 4 weeks, the group that was physically doing the exercise, their finger strength went up by 30%. But the group that was visualizing it, you would imagine that it wouldn't make much of a difference to the finger strength. However, the finger strength went up by 22% without, quote unquote, lifting a finger. So that proves, and there's countless more studies done now. This was done in 1992, guys. So like, there's a lot more technology now that can prove this. However, so coming back to your question, what can somebody do? One of the things that I teach everybody is, so this is the practice of going out. So of course, you want to go out and you want to have fun. So it's not like you want to just sit around at home if because you're worried about going out and drinking. So you visualize yourself going out and doing the thing before you're doing it. You're visualizing it and ending it with the outcome that you want. So if the outcome is, classic example, this is what I do now, is anytime I have an invitation, I'll go there at the time that it says on the card, not fashionably late. And I'll give myself 2 hours. All I need is 2 hours to socialize, shake hands, make some jokes, whatever, drink some water, and get out of there. Simple. I don't need to stay there longer because what's the point? I've already done what I needed to do. So you visualize yourself. Let's say it's a birthday party that you have to go to. You know whose house it is. You've been there before. So you visualize the details. You visualize what you're wearing, how you visualize yourself driving there. Visualize yourself entering, saying hello, saying hi, noticing everybody's got a glass full already. And then you go, you sit, you socialize. Maybe you took sparkling water with you. Maybe you took some non-alcoholic beer with you, whatever it is, right? You visualize exactly what it is you want. But here's the kicker. At the end of the night, you're leaving. You visualize yourself leaving. The door, you say your goodbye, the door closes, and now you're like, okay, I did it. Now I can just drive home, and it wasn't even that bad. And then you get in your car and you drive home. This is the most important part. If you've done it all up till this point, how does that moment make you feel? What is the emotion present at that moment when you're visualizing yourself saying goodbye to everybody and walking out of there, not a single drink, and you're proud of yourself? Are you proud of yourself? If so, you have to essentially fake it a little bit and you have to appreciate yourself. Like, good job, Hamza. I know you could do this. Great job. Maybe give yourself a pat on the back. All these things, what they're doing is they're releasing dopamine in your brain because your body's like, oh, that was a good thing. That was a good thing that just happened. We like it. We like it. We want to do it again. And that's the function of the nervous system. So what you're doing is you're conditioning your brain to that outcome as a positive outcome. So because of that emotion that's present, when you go and do it in real life, it will feel familiar. It won't feel new. It won't feel challenging, and you will know how this ends. And it makes it way easier to actually pull it off. And all you need to do is do it one time to tell yourself that you can do it, then do it again. Just like practice, just like the gym, just like repetition,
Just the,
repetition,
the dress
repetition.
rehearsal.
Yeah, exactly. So that is how that's how we do it. That's how I did it. That's how people do it every single day in our community.
Awesome. So, Hamza, I'm going to be putting all your information wherever someone's watching or listening to this. We're going to be wrapping this up now. So, what are your final words of wisdom to the audience today?
My final words of wisdom are somewhere along the way, somebody decided that we all have to drink to have fun. I want you to challenge that notion today. And I want you to try and experience life without alcohol and see what comes up for you. Especially if you're someone who's telling yourself right now or watching this right now and thinking, you know what, I don't think I have a problem. I can go with a week or two without a drink. Just do it. Give yourself a month. Take a break from alcohol and see how you feel. Because I'll tell you what, even if you're drinking once or twice a week, maybe 3 or 4 times a week, you will feel an incredible difference in your energy, your mood, your sleep, how you deal with stress, how you deal with life, all of it, all of it. And I just want you to experience this. And if you're someone who has been secretly working on this, or maybe openly working on this, and are struggling, I just want you to know that it's likely that you're just looking at it the wrong way. Because that's the mistake I made as well. Alcohol itself isn't the problem. If it's because if you stop drinking, you likely start smoking. If you're a smoker already, you will smoke way more when you stop drinking. If you don't smoke and you stop drinking, you'll start eating sugar. Like if there's always something that the thing is moving on to. So until you deal with what's inside of you, it will manifest itself in different ways. And in my personal example, in the first year of my sobriety, I developed a shopping addiction.
Mhm.
Crazy as it sounds. And I had to work myself through that as well. So just trust the fact that alcohol isn't the main problem. It's within you. And until you start shifting your focus inward, there will always be a good reason to continue drinking and to continue down the same path that you have been.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Hamza, for that great information. And yeah, I'm just going to leave you a gentle reminder to slow down and enjoy life. And I'll see you in the next episode.